In this video, we are going to examine the executive, principally at the Commonwealth level. You will recall that the executive is the arm of government that both develops and implements policy, as well as executes or administers laws passed by Parliament. But who or what is the executive and what do they do? These are the questions we will examine in this video. And in answering these questions, we start where we start with most issues of public law, the Australian Constitution. So what does the Australian Constitution say about the executive? First, the Constitution vests executive power in the Queen, exercisable by the Queen's representative, the Governor-General. Second, the Constitution establishes a Federal Executive Council to advise the Governor-General. In practice, this is the Prime Minister and members of the Prime Minister's Cabinet. Third, the Constitution then provides that references in it to the Governor-General in Council refer to the Governor-General acting on the advice of the Federal Executive Council. And finally, the Constitution provides for the Governor-General appointing members of the Federal Executive Council, that is, Cabinet, to be ministers with responsibility for administering government departments. The Australian Constitution thus establishes a number of layers within the executive. At the top is the Queen and her representative, the Governor-General. Next is the Federal Executive Council, or Cabinet. Then there are ministers of state who administer government departments and who are also members of the Federal Executive Council, or Cabinet. The Ministers for Agriculture, Barnaby Joyce, Immigration and Border Protection, Peter Dutton, and Employment and Women, Michaelia Cash, are examples of these appointments. But these people cannot do all the work on their own. Clearly they have the assistance of many others. Who are these others? The executive also encompasses the public service. I use this term broadly to include government departments such as the Department of Immigration and Border Protection and the Department of Employment, agencies such as the National Disability Insurance Agency and the Classification Board that classifies films and computer games. It also includes statutory office holders such as the Human Rights Commissioner, Privacy Commissioner, Ombudsman and Auditor General. Shown here are Rosalind Crouch, the new Australian Human Rights Commissioner, and Timothy Pilgrim, Australia's Privacy Commissioner. Of course, there are the police and armed forces. And finally, there are regulators and street-level officials such as workplace health and safety inspectors, and even the parking officers who patrol Monash University's car parks. This list is not intended to be exhaustive. Rather, it is illustrative of the main elements of the executive. Which elements of the executive do you come into contact with in your day-to-day life? Which have the most impact on your quality of life? It also should be noted that the first three layers of the executive, the Queen and her representative, the Governor-General, members of the Federal Executive Council, and ministers of state are all members of Parliament, reflecting that Australia does not observe a strict separation of power between Parliament and the executive. It also means that ministers wear multiple hats. Let's take the Minister for Immigration and Border Protection, for example, the Honourable Peter Dutton MP. How many hats does he wear? How many allegiances does he owe? First, he is a parliamentarian. He is also a member of Cabinet. He leads a government department, and he represents his local electorate of Dixon in Queensland. And finally, he is a member of the Liberal Party, without whose support he could not have been elected in the first place. Later in the unit, we are going to discuss executive accountability. When we do, think about how being part of so many groupings could impact members of the executive's accountability. The final thing I want to discuss in this video is what does the executive, and in our case, the Commonwealth Executive, do? Well, quite a lot actually. We already have observed that the executive develops policy, executes or administers laws passed by Parliament, and administers government departments. A comprehensive list of what this entails would take too long. So in this PowerPoint, we will just show a sample of some of the things the executive does. They range from the monumental and international, such as declaring war, defending the nation, and signing international treaties, to issues of direct and significant effect for individual freedoms and liberties, such as detaining aliens, prosecuting people for breaching the law, and where applicable, pardoning those they have prosecuted, through to providing the general population with services, benefits and welfare, and coining the money necessary to do so. And the executive also seeks to regulate, and by that I mean modify, our individual and collective behaviour. This is sometimes done through coercive mechanisms that make breaches of the law punishable by fines and/or imprisonment, but also by less coercive means. These can include financial incentives, such as rebates to encourage the purchase of energy-efficient appliances, or tax deductions to encourage us to make charitable donations, advertising and marketing to persuade us to live healthy lifestyles, such as advertisements to encourage us to be more active or to stop smoking, and assistance to do these things, such as the provision of information through the internet or helplines. This concludes this video's discussion of who or what is the executive and what does it do. I hope you have found it interesting. Your lecturers look forward to discussing the concepts covered in this video with you in lectures.